Lisa stood before the mirror in her dressing room, fixing the last pin on her neatly rolled hair. The reflection staring back at her was everything she had ever dreamed of becoming: refined, elegant, and adored. Behind her, the soft hum of the city filtered through the window of their 3-bedroom apartment in Brighton Heights. It was a weekday morning, and Emmanuel, her husband, was seated on the couch, scrolling through his phone while sipping his coffee. They were the kind of couple people admired. Emmanuel was a financial consultant working for one of the top investment firms in the city, and Lisa owned a thriving interior design business that catered to wealthy homeowners. Together, they looked like the definition of success. They attended events together, drove matching black SUVs, and lived in a building that overlooked Brighton's skyline. Lisa often said she wasn't born with a silver spoon, but Emmanuel made her believe she could own the entire cutlery set. They met 6 years ago at a youth conference. Emmanuel was charming, the kind of man who always spoke with confidence, always knew what to say, and carried himself like he owned the world. Lisa was shy then, struggling to pay her university tuition. He came into her life like light breaking through a dusty window. He paid her fees, encouraged her dreams, and promised her forever. Forever came, or so she thought. Lisa smiled as she picked her bag. "I'll be back before 6, she said softly, walking toward the door. Emmanuel barely looked up from his phone. Don't forget to stop by the dry cleaner." There was a time his tone would have made her giggle. He always had that bossy but loving way of talking, but lately, it carried a weight she couldn't name. It wasn't just in his tone. It was in the silence between them, the way his eyes no longer lingered on her face, the way his laughter no longer came as easily. Still, she pushed the thought aside. Marriage had its seasons, she told herself. Maybe this was one of them. Her day went as planned. She supervised a client's office renovation, met with her design team, and checked payments from suppliers. Everything was on track. That evening, she returned home tired but fulfilled. Emmanuel wasn't there. His car keys were gone, and his phone went straight to voicemail. By midnight, when he finally walked in, Lisa was seated in the living room, half asleep on the couch. "You didn't call," she murmured, sitting up. "I was busy," he said flatly. "With what?" "Work, Lisa. Do I have to explain everything?" She wanted to argue, but she didn't. Something in his tone warned her not to. Instead, she stood quietly and said, "Your food is in the kitchen." He didn't eat. He went straight to the bedroom and locked the door. Lisa sat back on the couch, staring at the framed picture of their wedding on the wall. It used to be her favorite. The way Emmanuel looked at her that day, eyes soft and full of love. Now, it felt like looking at strangers. Weeks turned into months, and the silence between them grew wider. Then, the first storm came. Lisa's company faced a major financial setback when one of her biggest clients defaulted on payment. It was a government project, and after endless excuses, the contract was cancelled. She lost millions. Overnight, she went from a growing entrepreneur to a woman struggling to pay her workers. Emmanuel didn't take it well. At first, he pretended to understand, but soon, his words became sharp. "I told you not to take that government job," he said one evening. "You don't listen, Lisa. You always think you know better." Lisa bit her tongue. "I did it for us, Emmanuel. It was supposed to grow the business. And now it's sinking us." She blinked back tears. "It's just a setback. I'll recover." He scoffed. "Recover? Lisa, I'm the only one paying bills now. You don't understand how embarrassing it is for me when my wife can't even keep her company together." That was the night Lisa realized success meant different things to both of them. In the weeks that followed, she sold her car to pay her staff, moved her office into a smaller space, and tried everything to keep her business alive. Emmanuel's complaints grew louder. He stopped coming home early. He no longer touched her, no longer called her my queen, no longer looked at her like she was enough. One night, as they sat in silence at dinner, Emmanuel dropped his fork and said, "Maybe it's time we reevaluate things." Lisa frowned. "What things?" "This marriage. I can't keep doing this." Her breath caught. You want to leave because I'm struggling. He didn't look at her. I'm not saying that. I'm just tired. Maybe some space will help. Space. That word became her enemy. A week later, he moved out. He said he was staying at a friend's place, but Lisa knew better. She saw the messages on his phone, the late-night chats with a woman named Tracy. She didn't confront him. She didn't have the strength to. Days turned into months. Her business closed completely. She sold furniture, jewelry, even her wedding gown to survive. Friends who once called her Madam Designer stopped answering her calls. Landlord notices piled on her table. She cried silently every night, clutching the old photos of them together. Then one afternoon, she walked into a cafe to apply for a receptionist job. And there he was, Emmanuel, sitting with Tracy, laughing like a man who had never known her pain. He looked up, froze, and their eyes met. Lisa's heart dropped. Lisa bit her tongue. I did it for us, Emmanuel. It was supposed to grow the business. And now it's sinking us. She blinked back tears. It's just a setback. I'll recover. He scoffed. Recover? Lisa, I'm the only one paying bills now. You don't understand how embarrassing it is for me when my wife can't even keep her company together. That was the night Lisa realized success meant different things to both of them. In the weeks that followed, she sold her car to pay her staff, moved her office into a smaller space, and tried everything to keep her business alive. Emmanuel's complaints grew louder. He stopped coming home early. He no longer touched her, no longer called her my queen, no longer looked at her like she was enough. One night, as they sat in silence at dinner, Emmanuel dropped his fork and said, "Maybe it's time we reevaluate things." Lisa frowned. What things? This marriage. I can't keep doing this. Her breath caught. You want to leave because I'm struggling. He didn't look at her. I'm not saying that. I'm just tired. Maybe some space will help. Space. That word became her enemy. A week later, he moved out. He said he was staying at a friend's place, but Lisa knew better. She saw the messages on his phone, the late-night chats with a woman named Tracy. She didn't confront him. She didn't have the strength to. Days turned into months. Her business closed completely. She sold furniture, jewelry, even her wedding gown to survive. Friends who once called her Madam Designer stopped answering her calls. Landlord notices piled on her table. She cried silently every night, clutching the old photos of them together. Then one afternoon, she walked into a cafe to apply for a receptionist job. And there he was, Emmanuel, sitting with Tracy, laughing like a man who had never known her pain. He looked up, froze, and their eyes met. Lisa's heart dropped. Lisa didn't remember how she got home that afternoon. Her legs felt numb, her eyes swollen from holding back tears. Seeing Emmanuel with another woman wasn't what broke her. It was realizing that the man she once called her protector had become a stranger who now laughed in another woman's arms. Her house felt emptier that evening. The silence was heavier than before. Every corner reminded her of what they used to be. The kitchen where they used to cook together. The balcony where they'd once shared late-night talks about their dreams. Now, everything was gone except the memories she couldn't erase. Bills kept coming. The landlord's patience ran out. She had 2 weeks to leave the apartment. Lisa tried selling more items, a few designer clothes, her TV, her jewelry, anything that could bring a little cash. But it wasn't enough. One evening, she sat on the floor surrounded by packed boxes and unpaid bills. She picked up her phone and dialed Emmanuel's number. It rang, then went straight to voicemail. She tried again. This time, it rang, and he answered. What is it, Lisa? His voice was sharp. Emmanuel, I'm losing the house. I just need a little help. I'll pay you back. He sighed. Lisa, we're not together anymore. You have to stop depending on me. Depending on you? I was your wife, she shouted, tears breaking through. Was, he said coldly. You were my wife. Not anymore. The line went dead. Lisa dropped the phone and let the tears flow freely. For the first time, she stopped pretending to be strong. She cried for everything, for the love that died, for the home she lost, for the dreams she had built around a man who walked away the moment things got hard. That night, she made a decision. By morning, she packed her remaining clothes, locked the apartment door for the last time, and left without looking back. She found a small one-room apartment in a rough part of Brighton City, the kind of place she would never have entered in her former life. The walls were cracked, the bathroom barely worked, and the neighborhood was noisy. But it was hers. For now, it was enough. She started applying for jobs. Anything. She went from one office to another, sometimes waiting for hours under the harsh city heat, only to hear "we'll call you." Days passed, then weeks, and still nothing. Then, one afternoon, as she sat in a small roadside restaurant eating the cheapest meal on the menu, she overheard two women talking about a cleaning agency that was hiring part-time workers. She hesitated at first. Lisa, the once famous designer of Brighton Heights, reduced to cleaning offices? But hunger kills pride faster than poverty ever could. The next morning, she walked into the agency. The supervisor, a plump woman with a tired face, looked her up and down. "You sure you can handle this kind of work?" she asked. Lisa nodded. "Yes, ma. I'll do whatever it takes." And so, her new life began. Scrubbing office floors, emptying trash bins, and washing restrooms in buildings where people once admired her designs. Some days she worked so hard her back ached. Some nights she went to bed without eating. But every morning, she woke up determined not to quit. Months passed. She kept to herself, worked quietly, and saved every naira she could. Slowly, she began to feel the pieces of her strength returning. One day, while cleaning an office building downtown, she met Kenny, a young architect who worked late nights. He noticed her dedication, how she arrived early and left late. One evening, he struck up a conversation. "You always work this hard?" he asked, smiling. Lisa shrugged. "It's the only thing I have left to do." Kenny tilted his head. "You sound like someone who used to have more." "I did," she said quietly. "But I lost it all." He didn't ask further, but over time, they became friends. He admired her humility and intelligence. Lisa, in turn, found his kindness refreshing, not because he pitied her, but because he respected her. One Friday evening, as she was about to leave, Kenny handed her a small envelope. "My firm is looking for an interior consultant for one of our upcoming projects. I told my boss about you. They'll need someone with experience. I think you should apply." Lisa's heart skipped. "But I don't have my company anymore." "You don't need one," he said. "You have the talent. That's enough." That night, she dusted off her old laptop, reworked her portfolio, and sent in the application. A week later, she got the job. It was a small project, a boutique hotel renovation, but it was her chance to start over. She threw herself into the work with passion and precision. Her designs impressed everyone. Soon, word began to spread about the woman who turned a struggling hotel into a masterpiece. Kenny's firm hired her again, then another company called, then another. Within a year, Lisa had registered her business again, this time as L Concept Interiors. It was smaller than before, but stronger. She managed her finances wisely, built relationships with genuine clients, and stayed away from flashy living. Her life slowly blossomed again. She moved into a better apartment, bought a modest car, and employed 2 assistants. She even began mentoring young women who were struggling in business. But life had one more surprise waiting for her. One sunny afternoon, Lisa was invited to speak at a real estate conference, an event filled with top investors, designers, and architects in Brighton City. As she walked onto the stage, confident and graceful, her eyes swept across the audience and froze. Emmanuel. He was sitting in the second row, wearing a faded suit, his eyes wide with disbelief. He looked older, tired, almost broken. Lisa took a deep breath and smiled, not out of pride, but peace. After her presentation, there was applause. People crowded around to greet her, to ask questions, to take pictures. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw Emmanuel standing at a distance, staring at her like a man watching a ghost. When the crowd thinned, he finally approached. "Lisa," his voice cracked. I can't believe it's you." She turned to him slowly. "Why can't you? You once said I'd never recover." He swallowed hard. "I was wrong." She studied him, his wrinkled shirt, his tired eyes, the ring finger that no longer had a band. "What happened to you?" she asked. He looked away. "Tracy left. She said I wasn't the man she thought I was. I lost my job months ago. I've been trying to get back on my feet." For a moment, Lisa felt a pang of pity, but it faded quickly. She remembered the night he told her she was no longer his wife. "Emmanuel," she said softly, "you left me when I was poor, but poverty didn't kill me, it built me." He looked at her with regret. "Lisa, please, maybe we can try again. I miss you." Lisa smiled sadly. "You don't miss me, Emmanuel. You miss the version of me that served your pride." She picked up her purse, turned toward the exit, and walked away, not in anger, but with the calm confidence of a woman who had survived everything meant to destroy her. Outside, her car waited. As she got in, she whispered to herself, "I didn't need revenge. Success was enough." And for the first time in years, Lisa felt free. Lisa didn't look back as she drove away from the conference center. Her heart was steady, her mind calm. For years, she had dreamt of this moment, not to gloat, not to humiliate him, but to stand tall in the same city that once watched her break. Now, she had done that. When she got home that night, she sat by her window and thought about everything. The pain, the tears, the humiliation. It all felt distant, like another lifetime. Her phone buzzed with messages of congratulations from people who had attended the conference. Some were clients, others were strangers who admired her story. But one message stood out. It was from Emmanuel. "Lisa, please. I know I don't deserve to say this, but I'm proud of you. You became everything I should have believed you could be. I'm sorry." Lisa read the message twice, then locked her phone. There was nothing to say. Some apologies come too late. Over the next few months, Lisa's company exploded with success. Her work caught the attention of Brighton City's top developers, and soon, she was handling high-end projects for luxury estates and hotels. She even hired a small team of young designers, mostly women who reminded her of her younger self, hopeful, determined, and scared of failure. Every time one of them hesitated, Lisa told them, "You're allowed to fall, but don't let anyone convince you that you can't rise." Her reputation grew. Magazines featured her as one of the top female entrepreneurs in the city. She became a symbol of strength, the woman who rebuilt her life from the ground up. But success didn't erase the loneliness that sometimes crept in at night. There were evenings when she sat on her couch, looking at old photos, wondering how things could have turned out differently if love hadn't turned cold. Still, she knew she could never go back. Some doors had to remain closed, no matter how familiar they looked. Meanwhile, Emmanuel's life had taken a different path. After losing his job, he tried working as a freelance consultant, but the industry had changed. His contacts had moved on, and no one wanted to associate with a man whose reputation had been stained by greed and arrogance. Tracy, the woman he left Lisa for, had walked out on him when his money ran dry. She took everything, his car, his savings, and his pride. He rented a small room in the old part of Brighton, the same neighborhood Lisa once struggled in. Irony had a way of finding its target. One afternoon, as Emmanuel walked along the street looking for a client's office, he passed a billboard with Lisa's face on it, L Concept Interiors, redefining modern living. Her smile was bright, her posture confident. He stopped and stared at it for a long time, his throat tightening. He whispered, "You made it, Lisa. Without me." He didn't know that, at that exact moment, Lisa was sitting in her new office on the other side of the city, finalizing a design contract for a new estate, a deal worth millions. Her assistant, Brenda, knocked on the door. "Ma, there's a man at reception asking to see you. He says it's urgent." Lisa frowned. "What's his name?" Emmanuel. Her pen froze. She closed her eyes, inhaled slowly, then nodded. Let him in. When the door opened, Emmanuel stepped inside hesitantly. His clothes were clean but worn, his shoulders slightly bent. He looked nothing like the proud man she once knew. Lisa, he said softly. She gestured for him to sit, her expression unreadable. What do you want, Emmanuel? He hesitated. I didn't come for money, if that's what you're thinking. Then why are you here? He swallowed hard. To say thank you. Lisa raised an eyebrow. For what? For proving me wrong. For showing me that strength isn't about wealth. I thought leaving you would make my life easier, but it destroyed me instead. He looked down at his hands. I'm not here to beg. I needed to see you one last time and say I'm sorry to your face. For a long moment, Lisa didn't speak. She studied him, the same man who once told her she was a burden. Now he sat before her, humbled by life itself. I forgave you a long time ago, she finally said. He looked up, surprised. You did? Yes, she said quietly. Forgiveness wasn't for you. It was for me. I couldn't rebuild my life while carrying hatred. Emmanuel's eyes glistened. You've changed, Lisa. No, she said with a small smile. I just remembered who I was before I met you. He nodded slowly, then stood. I won't take more of your time. Thank you for hearing me. As he turned to leave, Lisa said softly, Emmanuel. He paused. Life has a way of teaching us what pride refuses to learn, she said. I hope you find peace. He nodded once, then walked out quietly. When he was gone, Lisa leaned back in her chair and stared out the window at the skyline. She felt no anger, no joy, just closure. That night, as she drove home, she stopped by a charity center that supported widows and single mothers. It was a place she had been donating to secretly for months. The coordinator, a cheerful woman named Mrs. Aid, smiled warmly when she saw her. Lisa, you came at the right time. We're planning a small business training for these women next week. Lisa smiled. I'll sponsor it. She spent the evening talking with the women, listening to their stories of loss, abandonment, and survival. In their eyes, she saw fragments of her old self. And in helping them, she found healing she didn't know she still needed. By the time she got home, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from Kenny, the architect who had once helped her find her footing. Hey Lisa, I just got promoted to partner. Couldn't have done it without your help. Dinner on me tomorrow. Lisa smiled faintly. Maybe life was giving her a second chance. Not at revenge, not at love lost, but at love reborn, in a different form. The next evening, they met at a quiet rooftop restaurant overlooking Brighton City. The air was soft, the lights glittered below. They talked for hours, about work, dreams, and everything in between. Kenny wasn't like Emmanuel. He listened, he encouraged, he never made her feel small. When the night ended, he said, You know, I used to think strong women were born that way. But you made me realize strength is built, through pain, through failure, through faith. Lisa smiled. Then I guess I'm an architect too. They laughed. It wasn't love yet, but it was peace, and for Lisa, peace was enough. As months rolled by, she and Kenny became partners in business and eventually in life. Together, they expanded L-Concept interiors across cities, mentoring young designers and building projects that carried her signature style, clean, bold, and full of light. People began to tell her story in seminars and magazines, the woman whose husband left her when she became poor, but who rose to become one of Brighton City's most successful entrepreneurs. Every time Lisa heard it, she smiled and said, That's not a story about a man who left. It's a story about a woman who found herself.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment to support African Folktale by Muna. I love you all.